Welcome back to Weekend Breakfast with me, David Bull. The time is 7:44 on Sunday, December the 18th. Loads and loads of messages coming in. Good morning, festive doctors, says Sean in Gloucester. I do not have any sympathy with any of the strikes. In the private sector, you have to earn the right for a pay rise with hard, efficient work. Then the reward is a raise. Which of these services actually runs efficiently? None. I rest my case. Good morning, lovely show. Oh, this is from Tony Addison. You know Britain's Best Jobs, which we do on a Saturday. So he said, my job of the week suggestion for another show. I've just been listening to an article about an octopus trainer.
Oh, I want that job.
Yeah, we'll have to tell producer Tom about the octopus trainer. That's a very good one indeed. I like that a lot. Good morning, doctors. You asked which group I have the most sympathy for. The answer is simple, the general public, because we have to put up with the disruption. That's Cliff in Berkshire. Baggage handlers going on strike. Well, that's a joke. They should be giving us money back for not asking more, rather than asking more. I've never seen a more useless group of people in my life. The sooner all baggage handling is automated, the better, in my opinion.
It must be a very boring job.
It must be a very boring job, yeah. The J-Man says, good morning, doctors. We haven't had any real snow in East 5 since the Beast from the East, and never over Christmas, Ebbs. That's one for you.
Okay.
So it isn't always snowy.
No, it was me. I said that. Don't blame Ebbs.
Thank you, don't blame me.
All right. Okay, fine. Right, interesting, this one. David, with it being the last show before Christmas, how about you and Dr. Rennie give us a sing-along of Fairy Tale of New York, and you do your John Virgo waistcoat proud?
We have threatened to do karaoke.
we have, actually. Good morning, Dr. David. It's about time our government admits that the cause of all our problems is the world shortage of fossil fuels caused by net zero policies.
Yeah.
You should discuss this on Talk Radio. We do actually talk about this. Is Chris in London. We talk about this a great deal, actually.
I've called for a referendum on net zero.
Yes, I'd agree. So lots of messages coming in. So I'm asking this morning, which of these groups of workers, in terms of strike action, do you have the most sympathy with? I'll just read them out again. Baggage handlers, border force personnel, passport control, air traffic controllers, postal workers, railway workers and nurses. Which of those, if any, do you have the most sympathy with? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can tweet us at TalkTV and tweet me at Dr. David Bull. Ebbs is still here looking through this morning's papers. We did quite well in the quiz.
You did very well in the quiz. You got almost 100%.
Yeah.
We should go to pub quizzes.
We should actually.
Oh, I love a pub quiz.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you any good?
I'm very good.
Oh, we should. Oh, we need to go.
He's really competitive.
Yeah.
You're competitive.
I know.
The way you were answering those questions.
I know I am. That's why it takes one to know one. Right, what else have you got for us? So that was a very good story. You like that one?
Thank you. So with the nurses, and obviously the strike that happened on the 15th, there's another one on the way on the 20th.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of personally, the ones I have the least sympathy for at the moment, just because of the time of year, are the postal staff. I know it's controversial, but I went to post some Christmas cards this last week, and literally the post box was full.
Yeah.
Full. It's like, well, so when is the last day for first class and second class post?
Gone.
No one can tell me, because...
I think they've all gone.
Yes, I think it was earlier this year.
Interesting, though, Ebbs, because you don't worry that in the middle of winter, when more people always die, that it's the wrong time for the nurses to strike, rather than worry about your letters.
Oh, Ebbs, interesting priority list. I think you got called out.
I think I'll go back to papers.
Interesting also, passport workers, so border force, I'm surprised at that as well. So ruining people's holidays.
Yeah.
I actually think the postal workers are going to talk themselves out of a job, sadly, because I think people are becoming less and less reliant on posting things, and actually don't even think about it so much now, because they do things online or they use parcel carriers. And I think you're right. I think
we spoke about this as well, because I said I haven't sent any Christmas cards this year, because what's the point if they get there in February?
Yes, it's true. I mean, I managed to send 5, and that's what I'm doing.
I'm waiting for mine.
So
that'd be a long way.
Whether it gets there in time or after Christmas, I don't know, but that's the one I've got least sympathy for. And of course, with nurses, yes, I've got an enormous amount of sympathy and stand by the nurses, because...
Do you still think they should get 19%, 19.2%?
I think it's like bartering. So you're going to go really...
So that's their opening bid?
Yes. Opening bid is 19, and then it will get scaled down and down and down and down.
So we're at 19.475, basically. Those are the two offers.
Those are the two offers, yes. So, and hopefully meet somewhere in the middle.
And of course, Scotland, nurses called off their strike on the basis of balloting for 7.5.
They did. So you think that's where it will settle?
Look, I think Ebbs is absolutely right. I used to negotiate contracts, and it's the person who makes the most outrageous demand at the start who ends up closer to where they want to be.
Yes, always, because you can never actually revise an offer and make it higher, can you? or at least say that's what you want.
Because the nurses have themselves said during the pandemic, it's all very well us or clapping for them at 7 o'clock during the peak of the pandemic, but when they have a right with the cost of living and everything else,
of course,
they need to be looked after. I know you're going to say, or anyone can say, well, if you raise how much nurses' wages are, what about all the other...
it is a valid point.
And that is what the government is trying to deal with, because the minute, say if they did give the nurses 19%...
Yes, we'll give you, then everyone else is going to go, well, you've given them, so what about us, border force staff, postal workers...
But Renee's point is really valid, which is it's about cohesion of the government, and if they stick together, they'll probably get away with it. But the thing is, you think it's falling apart.
I think it's starting to. I think the cracks are showing. I think there are ministers spinning off the edge.
And how much of that is the constituencies? And of course, you've got to remember the MPs themselves actually work for themselves, don't they? Yes. The fact is, they can see a general election coming round the corner, and they want to look after their seats.
That's why I think they should actually pass it over to the independent pay review, because they will raise it, and I think everyone will be happy. Then the government can say, well, it wasn't us, it was the independent pay review.
So
have said lift it.
Push it on someone else.
So let me just say this one. Good morning, David and Renee and Ebbs. This is from Neil. Members of the Army don't get paid overtime. They're paid for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We covered the fire strikes in 2003, taking men away from pre-deployment training. I have no support for any strikes. Thank you very much to Neil. So obviously in the forces there. It's an interesting point.
So that brings back, what's that extra money for? The 5.3 million? What is
that's
that
what.
and that's is it just deployment and moving people around and those kind of logistics?
I have no idea. We ought to find out. So lots of other messages as well. Here we go. Can you just ask Rennie and Ebbs which Bounty triple bar does she mean? Is it the Bounty triple treat fruit and nut milk chocolate snack bars, or just the bar with 3 original bars?
Just the bar with 3 original bars.
Just keep it simple.
I mean, this is very highbrow news.
Just keep it simple. Just the original Bounties, 3 mini ones in a pack.
It's a lot of chocolate.
Yeah.
But Bounties aren't as big as they used to be, so it's...
It's still about that long.
I'm really a bit shocked by that. I'm going to go and have a little bit of research.
I'm glad it's not just me. What are the chances of that?
I know, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Right, okay, moving on. What paper are we on now? I've really lost track.
It's fine, we're on the Daily Mail. Steven Spielberg. So, obviously, 1975. How old were you in 1975?
I was 6, thanks.
There we go.
So I was actually 8, and
I would never ask.
I really wanted to see Jaws, and my mum said no, it was too violent. So a very good friend of mine who has now died, Sir Eddie Kulakundis, took me because he told my mum she was being ridiculous.
Oh my God, it's such a good film.
It's such a good film, and at 8 even, it was quite scary.
And
I still remember when they pull that tooth out of the hole in the boat and a body falls down. That stayed with me forever.
But it's the 2 notes. I mean, amazing soundtrack. Anyway, sorry, Ebbs.
So that's fine. I'm loving that Jaws reflection.
Yeah.
So Steven Spielberg has said to BBC Radio 4's Desert Island Discs that one of the biggest things that he regrets to this day is the decimation of the shark population because of the book and the film. He truly regrets that. The Jaws book, a novel in 1974 by Peter Benchley, was billed as the most terrifying film ever made. But he's then reported that because there's been a huge decline in the shark population, it's basically been on the back of the film and how people view sharks in general. And so he's going, well, I really regret it.
So apparently bounty hunters went out trying to catch...
I thought you were going back to bounty.
No, and actually trying to catch big whites, and they made it into a sport almost, what's the biggest shark you can catch?
And of course many sharks are endangered
I
now,
know,
aren't they?
They are, but it's quite fair for him to say that. It definitely, in my mind, in terms of all the not evil creatures in the world, sharks were always on top.
Absolutely. Well, and also they look dead, don't they? And even reef sharks, which can't hurt you, look really evil.
Just evil.
I know. So
from the film,
I was lucky enough last year to go to the Maldives, and we used to swim every day with reef sharks, and I used to just still look at them thinking, I know that they say they won't bite me, but what if it bites me?
This one particular likes me.
So I used to go diving, and I don't like it because the thing is there are a lot of things there with teeth, a lot of things, and then you just look round and there's something else looking at you.
Although I still think jellyfish are fairly horrifying when they're in the water.
I agree, especially Coronex fleckeri, which is the box jelly, which spreads...
Look at you.
I know. But they spread their tentacles a long way, and then you get wrapped in them and they sting you, and it basically goes round and round you. I saw it in Australia.
People are never going to go swimming again who are listening to this show.
Yeah. And do you know how you get rid of a jellyfish sting?
You pee on it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Or use vinegar.
Peeing on it's more fun.
probably easier because I don't know about you, but I don't normally go to the beach with vinegar.
But you do go with we, obviously, yeah. Okay.
Let's move on. Anything else?
Finally, Britney. So Britney's dad, Jamie Spears, he features in two papers today, in The Sun and the Daily Mail. He talks for the first time about her conservatorship, which she was released from after 13 years. Now, he is fighting back, saying the reason that he had the conservatorship for Britney was to basically keep her alive and support her. Which is interesting now because I do think, I kind of follow her on Instagram and I've seen a few of her posts.
Right.
And her posts obviously have millions of followers, but some of her posts do make me think, is Britney all right?
In what sense?
Well...
But what would you say today if someone put Kanye West under a conservatorship?
Why have you picked out Kanye West in particular?
Because a lot of his tweets are a bit, is he okay?
Yeah. Is he okay, hon?
Yeah.
So Brittany, why do you say that, though?
Well, because, a lot of her posts, let me put this in the best possible way at this time
I know
in the
what you
morning.
mean.
Her posts are quite explicit. And I'm thinking, so who is filtering these posts?
Explicit?
I'm
afraid I don't follow her.
Like she doesn't have a...
No filter?
No filter.
Oh, I see, okay.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah.
Explicit,
Pictures can say what words can't.
Pictorially explicit,
Yeah, and she does that a lot. I'm thinking, but Britney...
But isn't this all attention-seeking?
Perhaps, but there's no need to be so explicit so many times of the week.
Yes.
It's like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah. So you think she isn't actually that well? You're posing that question.
I am posing that question. I'm thinking, is anyone telling her no? This is my point. You know, with a lot of these celebrities, it's like they can do what they want, but actually, is it for their own best interest? Or have they pushed everyone who is looking after them away?
Yeah, that's really
I think the problem, I think, comes in America. That it's a really weird system where someone in your family can be appointed as your guardian and even tell you that what contraception you have to use. And that's how detailed it was.
Yes.
And I think she's a woman, and I think that was really hard. Her childbearing years have probably gone. I know she's just recently been pregnant and sadly had a miscarriage. So I actually think that if we're worried about these people, which I think is completely a justifiable concern, then let's use the kind of things we do in this country to protect her. You know, let the state step in and protect her with some sort of, we have sections over here where we treat people when they're not well, for their own good. I think that was a very long situation, and I think it was a very draconian order, and it worries me because when there's so much money involved, then it becomes very questionable.
But it also becomes a bit worrying if the person who owns all this money is free to do what they like without boundaries.
But that's why I raised Kanye West.
Some boundaries.
Well, that's right, and of course there's a very difficult relationship between fame and actually then seeking attention, and we've seen that a great deal in terms of the way people become famous and then their behaviour changes and they need it. It's oxygen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've seen that a lot, and I when I lived in the States, that was when Whitney Houston died, and again, that was the tragedy of the whole thing, is someone so famous, so talented, so brilliant, and fell into this spiral of just deprivation and just not looking after herself, and then obviously very difficult circumstances as well.
And it's a well-worn story that you don't want that same path to happen again, but what can you do?
It's a very interesting story, actually. Is that it from you?
That's it from me.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed. Lots of messages coming in, by the way. Good morning, David, Renee and Ebbs. By the way, I've just had a lovely one about you, saying how fabulous you are.
Oh,
isn't that nice?
That's
so
lovely.
fabulous.
So fabulous. No way should the royals have any kind of summit with Harry and Meghan. Anything that is said or done could be covertly recorded, and they could take up more sneaky pictures. Then it'll be served up as more royal meat for Netflix to gorge on. Rosie Morley in Liverpool. Interestingly, did you see the article this morning?
I think they should have a summit.
About Netflix actually coming underneath Ofcom, so that actually there would then be some sort of regulation. Because it does seem, as I said with The Crown, you do get engrossed in it and you think it is actually real, where of course it's not. It's a drama. It's based on historical events.
Whereas Meghan and Harry is obviously put out there as real.
Yeah, exactly right. And then Benji Benson says, David, the great white is now off the endangered species list, and it's now my favourite animal.
Aww.
So that's good news, isn't it?
There's so much we don't know about sharks, actually. They're quite a mysterious creature in terms of where they go and give birth, and all of that. They're quite interesting.
Very good. Well, thank you very much to both of you. Ebbs, what a pleasure. What a Christmas treat.
This is a treat. This is a treat.
It's a definite treat. Right, thank you very much for coming in.
My
It's
pleasure.
a great pleasure to see you. After the break, we'll be popping over to the United States to talk to Caroline Faraday, telling us all the latest news in the United States. And we have our Future Politics panel with Jonathan Gibson and Caleb Robertson. This is TalkTV, broadcasting live from the Talk Radio studios.